The number one complaint I hear about the Apple Watch is battery life. And if you would have asked me a few years ago, I probably would have agreed with you. But now, it's a non-issue. And here's why. Battery life was a big problem on the Apple Watch in previous iterations. Like a big problem. The biggest, in fact. My first Apple Watch was a Series 2 in 2017, and I ended up hating that watch. I wasn't using it for workouts, the battery life was pretty abysmal, and the smartwatch features were just a barrage of notifications and non-stop dinging on my wrist all day long. Notifications that I still had to pick up my phone in order to do something about, at that point at least. I still had to charge it every night, and I couldn't even dream of a world where I would use the Apple Watch for sleep tracking. So, of course, I ended up selling it. I went a few more years before trying out an Apple Watch again. In 2020, I picked up the Apple Watch SE first generation, and this is where things started to change on my opinion about the Apple Watch. I adjusted the notification settings so it wasn't just a walking dopamine hit on my wrist, no more buzzing, no more dinging. And you might think, well, what's the point of wearing a smartwatch then if, you're not going to use any of the smartwatch features? Well, I leaned heavily into the workouts at that point. I started using the Apple Watch almost every day to track all of my workouts and started religiously trying to close my rings. Ultimately, though, battery life was still pretty poor and I ended up charging it every night and still wasn't using it for sleep tracking because of that. Then in 2022, I traded up to a Series 7, but it was kind of more of the same as the Apple Watch SE, but at a higher price. And in 2022, I finally made the leap to the Apple Watch Ultra. Now, I was a little bit late to the game because I'd argue that the Ultra was the point where battery life stopped becoming a problem on the Apple Watch. Now, the Series 9 and Series 10 watches have definitely caught up. The battery life is a lot better than the previous series watches. The efficiency has improved over the years. But the leap to the Ultra is where you get the most bang for your buck when it comes to battery life on the Apple Watch. So now you have an Apple Watch Ultra, the most expensive watch in Apple's lineup. And the Garmin fanboys will tell you, well, I still only have to charge once a week, or if you had one of the older models before they added smart features, maybe once a month. Last year, I went hands-on with the Garmin Forerunner 965 versus the Apple Watch Ultra 2, and found that it's actually a really good sports watch. I definitely didn't have to charge it nearly as much, but I missed out on a lot of the features that I liked about the Apple Watch Ultra. I actually wore them side by side, one watch on each wrist, for about a week before I ended up making my decision. So yes, the Garmin does have better battery life than the Apple Watch Ultra, but it's a pretty terrible smartwatch objectively. Some of the features that I've come to love on the Apple Watch Ultra that I really never thought I would use, the first being cellular connection. This allows me to go for a run or a bike ride and leave my phone at home. Oftentimes I don't have a spot for my phone and I don't need it depending on what kind of, biking or running I'm doing. And I can navigate just fine with Work Outdoors or Strava or some other application that has GPS directly on the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch Ultra also has seamless music playback directly to my AirPods or Beats headphones. And you can either stream it with the cellular connection or download the playlist to your watch. And this is by far the best part about the Apple Watch Ultra, in my opinion, if you're using it specifically for workout type activities. And of course, then you get all the other Apple ecosystem smart features that you've come to know and love on the Apple Watch. You get messaging, you get a lot of your favorite apps, you get Apple Pay, and I've even taken phone calls on the Apple Watch when my phone is upstairs and I'm down here or something like that. Now, the battery life story on the Apple Watch Ultra 2 still isn't perfect. There are nights where I'm going to bed and I need to charge the watch before bed. I get the reminder that says low battery, charge before you go to sleep. It isn't much of an issue here though, because the watch charges so fast that if I set it down on the charger before I go brush my teeth, by the time I'm actually ready for bed, the watch is charged to 80 or 90%, and I call that good enough. This has unlocked sleep tracking for me, which has become a pretty big deal at this point in my life. not getting as good a sleep with a young kid in the house, I'm being a little bit more cautious with my training. So I like to see the metrics that the Apple Watch is collecting at night. I use the app Athletic to track things like the HRV, blood oxygen level, heart rate, and more while I'm sleeping. These metrics just give me a little bit of insight into, okay, can I push as hard as I want to today, or do I need to back off, maybe have a little bit of an active rest day, or take the day off altogether? This feature specifically has even helped me diagnose some health issues, and because of that, has gotten me to the right specialist to get care. None of this was possible for me, specifically on the previous Apple Watch iterations, and Garmin has a lot of these same features as well, so I won't discount them there. You get a lot of the recovery metrics and training data that you get on the Apple Watch Ultra as well. And all of this with basically no fuss over battery life. Charge it a little bit before I go to bed, charge it a little bit in the morning after my workout while I'm in the shower. None of this has impacted the way that I use the watch and has let me use all of the features that I've paid for with this admittedly expensive smart fitness watch. Now, if you have a niche sports interest like marathons or triathlons where you're recording workouts for a very long period of time, well, the Apple Watch Ultra is still the best thing in Apple's lineup if you want an Apple-specific watch, but you might be happier with a Garmin-type sports watch that gives you much longer battery life and just sacrifice the smartwatch features that you get in the Apple ecosystem. So let me know in the comments, what is your Apple Watch charging routine, and are you able to use it for sleep tracking? And hit subscribe if you want more Apple videos, productivity shortcuts, and tech reviews. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.